Hello, everybody. I'm Carlton Pearson. Thanks for taking the time to tune in, whether you're watching this live or whether you're watching it archivally after the fact. I'm very interested and intrigued with things spiritual, things scientific, and things metaphysical. I'm just fascinated by exploring and experimenting and investigating and interrogating and, if you will, excavating old things that have been hidden for years or subterraneously that need to be unearthed. Notice even this whole, see that apple on the back of my computer here? This is an Apple computer. Notice that it has a bite taken out of it. Who knows what that means? But what if they are suggesting that this was the quote unquote forbidden fruit of the tree or truths of the knowledge of good and evil? What if this whole organization is built on knowledge, science, truths, or information that has been kept held from us, and now it's all over the information highway? I'm just intrigued with all that kind of a thing. So I'm very interested in and intrigued by spirit, science, metaphysics. When I say metaphysics, I mean that which is beyond science, or beyond physicality, I should say. Metaphysics, beyond physicality. So, and how these, science and spirit and metaphysics, how they coincide in and as human experience, or perhaps human experimentation. An experiment is a scientific procedure that's undertaken to make a discovery, to test a hypothesis, or to demonstrate a known fact. And that last part, demonstrating a known fact. What known facts are not demonstrable or haven't been demonstrated? What are we finding out, or what are we discovering? So I'm going to, for the next several sessions, now keep them short, maybe 30, 40 minutes, I'm just going to talk about this. Now, I write everything down because this goes in books later, and I'll elaborate on it. But you're taking a wandering, W-A-N-D-E-R, and a wondering, W-O-N-D-E-R, journey with me, just exploring, just experimenting. Again, it's a scientific procedure undertaken to make a discovery, or an uncovery, or even a recovery, if you will. It's to test a hypothesis, something that hasn't been proven, but it's out there, or to demonstrate a known fact. Now, Jesus is recorded to have said, or admonished his disciples, seek first, not only, just primarily, foremost, the kingdom of God. That basically means higher consciousness in a more figurative and metaphysical sense, and his righteousness. The word righteousness basically means maturity, completed ideologies or thoughts. Righteousness is not about a code of moral ethics. It's not about the Ten Commandments here, though Jesus was a Jew talking to Jews about a Jewish concept of divinity in the scriptures. Beyond that, he was a metaphysician, and he would have said this, meaning righteousness, not just Jewish righteousness, but seek the higher realms of consciousness. And his righteousness, or its righteousness, the word righteousness means correct or erect, upright, awareness, accurate, add correct, or add curate. To cure and correct or care, add carete. What is cured or cared or honest or upright? This would include accuracy of self and soul, respect for divine law, and that includes the laws of attraction, universal principles and promises, higher ways of thinking, higher ways of living your best or your most unobscured or unabducted essence. Some people are abducted, which means to be taken away against your will from your purpose or your point for being on this planet. The word sin, most prominently used in the scripture, is hamartano, which means basically to miss the mark. Not hamartia in Greek, which means to offend, but hamartano. When you miss the mark, you miss your point. You miss the point for why you've come here. You're lost in consciousness. You're not aware of your purpose, and you tend to abuse. That's two English words, abnormal use. You abuse yourself, you abuse others because you don't know its purpose. You miss the point of why it's here, whether that's marriage or singleness, whether it's business or scriptures, religion, faith, whatever. So when the scripture talks about righteousness, It's talking about your completed essence, your maximized being, your unabducted or unobstructed or unabdicated. When you abdicate, you give up your royalty. You basically renounce the throne, your authority, your power. You give it away. Many people are weak because of abdication. They walked away from destiny or the elegance or eloquence of their being. Many people are struggling right now in this world simply because they have said, to heck with it. I'm not going to try anymore. I'm a loser. I'm defeated. A feat is a thing done. Defeat is a thing undone. I'm undone. I'm lost. I can't handle this. That's sort of a suicidal thought, and many people have them. So we're not just human beings looking for spiritual experiences. We are spirit, as you've heard, having an earthly encounter. Your spirituality, your essential being and character has to do with you reclaiming, reconnecting, recollecting, remembering who you are spiritually. There's a science to that. There's an art to that. There's a mystery to it. And so I want to explore these things for the next little bit. One of the most commanding and intimidating, even controversial statements that Jesus is recorded to have made in Scripture were the words that he spoke to Nicodemus, a member of the Sanhedrin court, who came to him by night and said, Master, we know you are a teacher sent from God or by God, for no man could do these miracles except God be with him. Jesus' response to him was, you must be born again. The inference is, or you wouldn't have had that or understood that revelation. You must have had an awakening, or you wouldn't recognize that I am of God, or sent of God, or God breathed, or God, which means inspired or in spirit. Nicodemus saw Jesus in his teachings and in his miracles as other than. So he said, you must be born again. The word again in Greek is the word anothen, A-N-O-T-H-E-N. Anothen, where we get our English word another, unether, another, other, ether, or some translations say you must be born from above. Ethereal, up in the clouds. You must be born another time. You must have had an ethereal experience. And the word ether actually means the upper regions of air beyond the clouds. You must have had some kind of out-of-body experience. You must have had one other, or an additional, or a further, or farther. These are, I'm playing with the words, but English is a Mutt Heinz 57 language based on associations. You must have had another experience. And that's what I want to talk about in this next series, next several lessons and lectures. Have you had a born again? Have you had an experience from above? Anything ethereal, esoteric, out of the ordinary, metaphysical, beyond physicality? Yes, you have. You may not have identified it as such, but you are spirit. Again, we're not just human beings looking for spiritual experiences. We're spirit having an earthly encounter. I call it a spiritual seekers. Either abducted, taken away, or taken off against our will, or abdicated, willfully leaving the royal place or placement. People struggle with abdication or abductions, and I'm not talking about from extraterrestrials, though that may be possible in this earth today, in the world. It's kind of like the anatomy of spirit, the essence or existence. What is the anatomy of existence, or the anatomy of spirit, or the anatomy of essence? Why are we, and why do we respond or react to our existence in space? Why are we here? Why do we exist, or why do we believe that we exist? Do you believe that you're really here, or is this an illusion? Something suggests that we are occurring. We are existing. Anatomy is the study of the structure or internal workings of something. What is the structure of being? What are the internal mechanics of existence or of spirit? Now, those are questions that a lot of people don't ask openly or outwardly, but deep down in your heart, you want to know how you function. How do we work? Why do we work and function? And why do we exist as living, loving, wanting, working, walking, wondering, wandering, thriving, surviving entities? What is this all about? Now, religion presupposes that it knows that, and so people become religious trying to get these answers. Paul quotes the Greek poets as saying in the scriptures in Acts, in him, or God, we live, move, and have or inhabit our beings. We're not just inhabited by being, we inhabit being. We possess our being in God. Now, we say that scripture, but Paul says, as some of your poets have said. He's quoting Greek poets, whether that's Aristotle or Socrates or Plato. Aristotle, I should say. He's quoting their poets. We call it scripture. In God I live. As God I live. As God I breathe. As God I inhabit or possess my essence. I'm a human God, or I'm God expressing itself humanly into, through, and as me in this world. I know that sounds a little far-fetched to some of you, but that's a kind of a scientific spirituality, which I'll get more into in this lecture. Why are we here, or why do we believe we are here? We believe we are here because we experience that we are here. We believe we are here because it's experiential. By experience, I mean practical contact with and observation of facts or of events. We observe facts and events. We're in practical contact with existence. It's tangible to us. So we believe, assume, or presume that we actually are here, that this is real, that the illusion is tangible, or that there's tangibility to an illusion or a spiritual experience or expression. It's kind of interesting. The Greek word for soul, I don't know who the poet that said, I think, therefore I am, or I am, therefore I think. The Greek word for soul is psyche, English psyche, or psychology, the logic of thought. I am, therefore I think. My psyche, my thought life, it infers or refers not just thought life, but but life that thinks. Not just thought life, but life that thinks. We are all thought forms, and we're forms of thought. Everything has to do with thought, perception. We're thought forms, and we are varying forms of thought. So life thinks. Life is curious. Life probes and asks and quests, or has questions, or requests, or inquests, or conquests. We're all on this quest to somehow, what I call self-actualize, become actually, factually, functionally, punctually who we are. I know I'm using a lot of words, but I want to trigger your thinking. You're going to need to listen to this again. Who are you? Why are you? What are you? Where are you? Are you really here? And what does that mean? What are you experiencing, or what are you experimenting with? What are you trying to, what hypothesis? Are you a hypothesis that's trying to be proved? Or a proven fact that who is trying to be demonstrated? Are you trying to demonstrate your factuality and functionality? Or is this just some crazy dream or illusion? What do you think about that? Let me refer to an article that I read that's called Spirit, Science, and Metaphysics, Unraveling the Miracle, Unraveling the Mystery. Spirit, Science, and Metaphysics, Unraveling the Mystery. Somebody sent this to me. It's fascinating. Scientists claim that quantum theory proves consciousness moves to another universe at death. So I'm going to tie spirituality and science with metaphysics. Science means knowledge or knowing. Conscience or conscience means with knowledge. You've heard me refer to repeatedly over the last several weeks the difference between what you know and what you believe, what we know and what we believe. What we know is what we've experienced in our souls and with our souls, and sometimes by ourselves. And with our cells, it's like the cells remember something, but the mind believes something different than what we know. What we believe is what we've been taught or what we've been told. What we know is what we have actually encountered and experienced personally and powerfully. And some of what we know is based on some pre-incarnate reality. I can't prove it, but I'm putting out this hypothesis that we existed before we got here in human form. There's a scripture in Jeremiah that's familiar to many people who know the Bible, where Jeremiah describes an encounter he believes he had with God, where he quotes God as saying to him, "Before I formed you in the womb, I knew you. I called you. I claimed you. I anointed and appointed you." Most people walk around with some sense of creative destiny. Whether they admit it or not, they do. Very few people have no sense of it at all. People feel like they're supposed to accomplish something. There are different levels of accomplishment. Some people feel, I just want to get a job, or I just want to get college so I can get the kind of job. I want to get married and have children. You know, there are different levels of competency. There's different level of consistency. There's different levels of curiosity. You have to determine which one you are. But your spirit yearning, what you want, I'll say repeatedly through the series, wants you. Because what you want is you. What I mean by that is you want to experience the most accurate and precise and complete expression of yourself. You just want to be you. Nothing turns you on more or arouses or awakens you more than the possibility that you are you and can be you better or can experience you better. Again, spirit, science, and metaphysics unraveling the mystery. I'll quote the article again. Scientists claim that quantum theory proves consciousness moves to another universe at death. Now, a lot of us have already believed that, believe in the resurrection, believe that when we die, we go to another. Most religions believe that you go to some other dimension or some other realm, whether that's heaven, you experience karma, you get to Urantia, or you get to some ultimate reality, urbana. Quantum physics is the theory of mechanics. It's theory or mechanics. So it's called quantum physics or quantum theory or quantum mechanics. And it's the science of the very small. The body of scientific principles that explains the behavior of matter and its interactions with energy on the scale of atoms or subatomic particles. Tiny microbial, tiny microbiological, microbiotics, tiny forms of life, invisible, uncountable, infinite forms of life. Quantum physics, quantum theory, quantum mechanics. Like, for instance, this may gross you out a little bit, but there are little things, microbiological life forms on your body, all over your body, in your eyelashes, in any bodily hair, in the skin, in the capillaries of your blood system, of the cells of the skin, throughout your body. There's something on you right now having a baby. There's something on you right now making a baby. There's something urinating and defecating and procreating on you right now. And there's something on that urinating, defecating, procreating. And there's something on that urinating, defecating. I mean, it's infinite. If you put your hand under a black light, if you ever have the chance to go into a museum or wherever and find a black light and thrust your hand under it. I remember the first time I did that. I was in Kansas someplace. And there were billions of little white things on my hand. And I first pulled my hand out. It grossed me out. I put it back in there, and then I start doing this, and nothing moved. It was not like air that even circulated. Whatever was on me wasn't going nowhere. It freaked me out for a minute. I've done it only a couple of other times. I mean, I wanted to scratch. I wanted to take a shower. You see this, and then the scientists explained that on top of that is something else that you can't even see. You're just crawling with life and energy and biology. You are so alive. You never die. You move from one dimension to another. That's what this whole article is about. A book titled Biocentrism, How Life and Consciousness Are the Keys to Understanding the Nature of the Universe. That's a book that's out. Biocentrism, How Life and Consciousness Are the Keys to Understanding the Nature of the Universe, has stirred up the internet because it contained a notion that life does not end when the body dies, and it can last forever. Now, that's not shocking or stunning. It's not even news to me, but because we have believed this by faith all these years. Now, scientists come forth, and they're proving it scientifically. The author of this publication, scientist Dr. Robert Lanza, who was voted the third most important science alive by the New York Times, has no doubts that this is possible, that life or consciousness can exist beyond physical death. Lanza, this scientist, points to the structure of the universe itself and that the laws, forces, and constants of the universe appear to be fine-tuned for life, implying intelligence existed prior to matter. Now, this is scientific, okay, so just stay with me. Intelligence existed before matter or material things. Ethereal versus material, or compares, not necessarily competes, with, or maybe completes. Ethereal completes material, or material completes is a completion of ethereal. The otherness, the ether, the ageless, spaceless, invisible realities that are around us. Pretty profound. Lanza says, this scientist, that we carry space and time around with us like turtles with shells. This is science talking. Now, in a direct or less direct way, spiritual people or people of faith have always believed in spirits and entities and angels and existence beyond this world and distance before this world, and that we're all going to go to heaven or we're going to go to hell or we're going to go to some other dimension when we leave here. Jesus is quoted as saying, "In my Father's house there are many mansions." He's not talking about big estates like you would see on this earth. The word actually suggests spaces or apartments or compartments or dimensions. We're not just multi-dimensional beings. We are interdimensional beings. We can go to any floor in that household at any given time, not just when we die. Of course, this is a reference to that existence and consciousness transcends physical limitations. You put the body in the dust. From the dust we've come, to the dust we will turn. Ashes to ashes, dust to dust. That's kind of creepy and scary, but it's not really sad. We just keep going. It's called infinity, without finish, without end. In some realizations, without beginning. So Lanza says, Dr. Lanza, the scientist, says that we carry space and time around with us like turtles with shells, meaning that when the shell comes off, space and time, we still exist. You rarely see turtles coming out of their shells. You see fish, snails in the ocean shedding as they grow, they find another shell that's larger. So the living entity is inside the shell. But he's suggesting that we carry space and time around with us, like we're existing in space and in time, not the other way around. So when the shell comes off, when space and time, as we understand it or perceive it, comes off, we still exist. Now, these are scientists talking. This is a series about spirituality and about science and about metaphysics, about the mystery that unravels them all, or unraveling the mystery that is them all. It's fascinating to me. The theory implies that death of consciousness simply does not exist. You never stop being aware. Last night, I went to the bedside of a 91-year-old woman who I visited last Thursday here in Tulsa at the hospital. Her son texted me, and I was leaving the theater with my daughter last night at the time I'm taping this, and he said, "Mama just passed or transitioned." I said, "I'll be right to the." I left the theater, went straight to the hospital. Had a little ball cap on, some jeans and tennis shoes. The family was all gathered around, and I went into her room, and she laid there. So I had kissed her that Thursday, and she used to bake me chickens with she would just use lemon pepper to cook it. It was so tasty, so delicious, and I felt her love. And she had something like 5 or 6 kids herself. Her husband committed suicide when they were small, and she raised those kids. And she was playing with a little granddaughter, very animated that Sunday. By the next Sunday, she what was it? Last night was. That was on a Wednesday night or Tuesday night. I saw her on Thursday. 5 days later, she was gone. I saw her there laying, looked like she was sleeping. Her mouth was open. She was lifeless. She was motionless. She was gone. But I felt her consciousness. And her children seemed to do so as well. One of her nephews was standing there by her bedside looking at her corpse, basically, and he collapsed. He had a heart attack, or his defibrillator went nuts, and they had to literally take him to emergency while we were there. And you could feel when you go in hospitals many times, especially in ICU, you feel the passages of people coming and going. There's the birthing area, the maternity area, where people are coming into this place or planet or plane. And then you go to the ICU where people are exiting this place or planet or plane. And you can feel the different energy. Sometimes it's like they're passing each other through that tunnel or wherever or however people access the varying dimensions. It's just quite interesting. I want you to get in your mind right now, you probably already believe this, but sensationalize, sense it, that you never die. Death as we have experienced it or have been taught it, it's an elaborate, extravagant, obstinate, and arrogant illusion. You don't really die. You just transcend or transition to the next dimension of yourself. That your consciousness never dies and cannot die. When we get back the next time, we'll talk about the scientific explanation for the soul, the suki, the psyche, the thought life, or spirit. You're going to love it. See you in a minute.